Sean Combs' legal team is making a final-ditch effort to try to get this case dismissed. The prosecution has finally rested their case after 6 weeks, and now the defense, they have decided not to call any witnesses, but they are going to be submitting some evidence, and they're in the process of doing something called a Rule 29 motion, where they're asking for a mistrial. His legal team is saying that the government has not met their burden of proof, that they have not proved their case at all, and for that reason, the judge should declare a mistrial. What does this all mean? It means that closing arguments are going to take place on Thursday. The prosecution and the defense, they each get 4 hours to make their final plea to the jury.
Well, as you heard, now they having closing arguments in the Diddy case, man. And this thing has been going on for a while now. We've seen the situation with Cassie. They done brought the girl Capricorn Clark. She was saying that she got grabbed and taken against her will to Kid Cudi's house. We heard about the blowing up of the car. We heard about the guy, the Punisher. He was coming through punishing cheeks, knocking, shifting livers and all kinds of stuff going on, right? So you got these strippers or ex-workers. They going around making a bunch of money, doing interviews, talking to anybody that would listen about how they was piping down Cassie. You got Diddy wearing Batman clothes, right? Batman clothes and doing his thing in the corner in the dark, and it's just a whole bunch of weirdo stuff that's that's come out of this trial. But the prosecution to this day still haven't proven RICO, right? To me, I think Diddy is guilty of assault in that video we saw, but he's not even charged with that, right? But so you seen that they're moving for a Rule 29 to get this case dismissed, right? But let's look at what Fox 5 was saying in the closing arguments, right? And then we'll come right back.
Major developments today in the federal sex trafficking trial against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
Both the prosecution and defense have now rested their cases. Lisa Evers is live in Lower Manhattan with more on this bombshell day in court. Lisa.
Well, Natasha and Steve, a lot of developments here in court, fast-moving developments. Sean Diddy Combs stood up in the court and addressed the judge, saying that he would not be testifying on his own behalf. This comes as both the prosecution and the defense finished their cases. Now, Mrs. Janice Combs, Diddy's mother, was seen leaving court this afternoon, along with one of his defense attorneys, Tenny Garagos. His defense team putting into action the plan that they hope will result in not guilty verdicts across the board. They finished the cross-examination of the last prosecution witness, an HSI special agent. Then the prosecution finished their case, a case that has taken nearly 2 months and almost 3 dozen witnesses. The defense case consisted of a legal challenge to every single one of the criminal counts Sean Diddy Combs is facing. The defense called no witnesses. Mid-afternoon, the judge said it was time for what they call the allocution, meaning to ask Mr. Combs if he intended to testify on his own behalf. Judge Arun Subramanian asked Combs how he was doing. Combs said, quote, "I'm doing great, Your Honor," then told the judge, "You're doing a great job," and told the court it was solely his decision not to testify, which was necessary in order to meet the legal requirement for that. Now, a schedule is emerging for the final days of this trial. There will be a charge conference tomorrow without the jury here in the courthouse, where the lawyers from both sides will discuss how the charges will be explained to the jury. Legal experts tell me that this is critical. Then on Thursday, opening statements begin. Friday, if necessary, those opening statements will continue, and then there may be the charge to the jury. Now, the lead prosecutor, Maureen Comey, says that she does not expect actual deliberations to begin until Monday. That's the latest from the federal courthouse. Here, I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News. Steve and Natasha, back to you.
All right, thanks, Lisa.
So with all that being said, we got breaking news, right? And the breaking news is that the prosecution now has dropped 3 of the major charges that was hindering Diddy, that would have sent Diddy to prison for decades. The prosecution has dropped them because we knew without a shadow of a doubt that they would not be able to prove it in court, right? So now you have one of the sisters is outside of the courtroom, and she's breaking this stuff down, and she's explaining what happened, because they couldn't, in the burden of proof, they couldn't prove it, right? So we know that they dropped the kidnapping charge in California. They dropped the arson charge, and they dropped the aid and abetting sex trafficking charge, right? So now they still going on with other charges, but these major charges are dropped, and this is bombshell, because this is what they were hanging their hat on. This is what a lot of the feminist women was going around saying, Diddy's done, he's going to jail forever, and he was guilty, but they couldn't prove it. Right? Check this out.
Hey everybody, it's the original Queen Amadai Shakur. So I'm down here at the courthouse for Diddy's trial today. Now it doesn't start until 12, but I got here a little bit early, so I just wanted to give you all a brief update. The jury is not going to be here. The judge told them they could stay home for the day. There was no court for them. Basically, it's going to be the prosecution and the defense making their arguments. Okay, they were arguing yesterday over objections that the prosecution had about some of the exhibits that, in fact, the defense wanted to use to make their case. Now, interestingly enough, the defense decided not to use any witnesses. They had 2 witnesses who were supposedly former employees of Diddy's, also a forensic psychiatrist. They opted not to have either of them come on the stand. And also, Diddy stood up in court yesterday and announced that he would not be testifying in his own defense, which was a smart move for him, if you ask me. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, it comes out as breaking news that some of the charges have been dropped, 3 of them. And I find that interesting, but I'm not surprised, because a couple of days ago, I did a video where I talked about the verdict sheet, and I told people some of the things that were not proven, in my opinion. And the ones that have been dropped are those exact things. So let's talk about it. Now, this is a letter that they wrote to Judge Subramanian. Okay? Dear Judge Subramanian, the government respectfully writes regarding its requested edits to the court's proposed jury instructions. Now, the government understands that the court's desire for streamlined instructions. Now, with that in mind, the government has suggested ways to streamline those instructions. Specifically, the government has removed instructions from the charge relating to attempted kidnapping under both California and New York law, attempted arson under California law, and aiding and abetting trafficking. The government is no longer planning to proceed on these theories of liability, so instructions are no longer needed. Okay, the government has also attempted to simplify the language relating to count 1, a proposal, as explained in the government's comments, comment bubbles, that the government hopes not only serves the purposes of streamlining the instructions, but also will avoid any confusion as to the operative agreements for count 1. I want you all to pay attention, because this is huge. I find it all interesting because, you see, before I came down here to the courthouse and started sitting inside the main court and observing everything for myself and taking notes and listening and gathering intel and insight, I absolutely thought that it was going to be a slam dunk case. I absolutely thought that Diddy was going down for the count. And with that all being said, when I got here and saw how things were transpiring and unfolding, I started to see that their case wasn't as strong as I thought. And in fact, Diddy's defense team has done a thorough job of poking holes in many of the people who testified, poking holes in their stories. Now, whether they were telling the truth or not, in many cases, the defense was able to make it look as though they were lying. Okay, so I find it all interesting. They've dropped these charges so late in the game. Okay, the verdict's supposed to come out next week. Closing arguments start tomorrow. It's going to be a showdown. It's going to be the final stand. Who's going to come out victorious? Will it be the prosecution led by Maureen Comey, or will it be the Diddler, his defense team led by none other than Mark Agnifilo? With that all being said, everybody stay tuned. I will bring you more updates. Court ends today, I do believe, at 5. We'll be there from 12 to 5. I will post another update to let you all know what's going on. But please drop me a comment to let me know what you think about the fact that these 3 charges have been dropped. Talk to you again soon. Peace.
So let's look at this. United States versus Combs. Dear Judge Superman, the government respectfully writes regarding its request edits to the court's proposed jury instructions. The government understands the court's desires for streamlined instructions. With that in mind, the government has suggested ways to streamline those instructions. Specifically, the government has removed instructions from the charge relating to attempted kidnapping under both California and New York law, attempted arson under California law, and aiding and abetting trafficking. The government is no longer planning to proceed on these theories of liability, so instructions are no longer necessary. The government has also planned to simplify the language relating to Court 1, a proposal, as examined in the government's commitment bubbles. Right? The government hopes not only serves the purposes of streamlining the instructions, but also will avoid any confusion as the operative agreement for Court 1, ex-trafficking and forced labor. While the government has taken seriously the count's desire for brevity, the government still strongly believes that certain limited additional instructions on ex-trafficking and forced labor instructions, which are regularly given in ex-trafficking and forced labor trials in this circuit, are necessary for the jury to adequately understand the law on these charges. Each of these instructions reflect established case law and are directly relevant to key issues in the case. Moreover, without such instructions, the government has serious concerns that the jury may misunderstand the applicable law for both charges, which are extremely complex legal concepts about which jurors may have preconceived mistaken notions. So the defense reportedly cites United States versus Dove 916 for the proposition that the government's additional instructions of ex-trafficking are unbalanced and should be rejected. Both Dove says nothing about the instructions on well-established propositions of law, which is the only type of instructions that the government is asking to add here. Instead, the instructions in Dove are of an entirely different nature. One of the instructions in Dove involved a hypothetical given to the jury about a criminal defendant, which assumed the defendant's guilt. So this is the thing. If the DA now is asking for the judge to further give instructions, right? Now, if they dropped all these charges in the ex-trafficking, but now you need the jury to have further instructions on what ex-trafficking is because they may misunderstand, then y'all don't have a case. Y'all know the case is weak because the jury saw those X videos, right? Cassie and them having fun, right? So they know that they had to drop these cases, and the case is flimsy now because now you're afraid that the jury may misunderstand the extent of the charges or how to judge or how to levy a verdict. So man, this thing is crazy, man. They don't have anything else. They don't have it. They're not standing on nothing else, right? They're not standing on nothing else because, like I said, they're using case law to try to further explain to the jury. The jury the jury's been in this courtroom for over a month. They already understand what the trafficking would be, right? It's been explained to them multiple times. What it is now that all of this stuff has come out, they know that they don't have a case, and they wasted a lot of money. They wasted a lot of money and a lot of resources on something that they're not going to get a conviction for. So they just ready to pack it up and go home, man. But 3 of the charges have been dropped. As you heard the lady say that the jurors are not in court today, but as more of this come out, we'll report more of this, man. But right now, it's looking good for Diddy. Leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe to Street Media TV. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.